Good morning, family. Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day. I am back from Cancun, and gosh, if you were following the pictures and the videos, you know I had a wonderful relaxing time, and it was awesome. It was great. I did, as you guys know, I told you last week that I would not be doing any of the Your Naked Story trainings on Monday of this week because I would be traveling back to the States. But I did come in and do a short training on Saturday night, I think it was, and we talked about how you have to live. If you're sharing your story, you have to live, right? So you have to live to have a story to tell, and living is not just struggle. And so we talked about, good times and actually getting out there and doing things and having adventures and traveling and whatever makes you happy. So we did do that little sneak peek training on Saturday night. So look for that one. It's still under the hashtag Your Naked Story. So this week we're doing Wednesday and Friday because I was still traveling on Monday. But next week we'll go back to the Monday. In fact, I think next week kind of ends our training, does it not? Yeah. So we'll do one today. We'll do one Friday. And on Monday, the last Monday of the month, we will wrap it up. Okay, so this month it's the month of February, the month of love because of Valentine's Day. And so what we did was we did a theme of love by sharing your naked story. Okay, share love by sharing your naked story. So basically teaching others how to survive some of the things that you went through or better ways of doing things that you know. Okay, so that has been our theme all month long, and our training, again, the hashtag for all of the trainings is hashtag Your Naked Story. And it's basically about sharing of yourself to help others. Okay, sharing of yourself to help others. And we've gone over some great topics. Let me give you some topics. We talked about self-reflection, how to do your timeline, and start your outline. We talked about whose life intersects with yours and how to use those stories and whether or not you should. We talked about knowing your why. Why are you sharing your story? It can't be just to get it off your chest. It has to be to benefit someone else. If it's not, then you have to look into other options, because if you're not trying to help someone else, then why should they buy your book, right? We talked about catching them from chapter 1, from paragraph 1, really gaining attention. Good morning. Really gaining their attention at the beginning of the book so that people will want to continue to read your book. And today's topic on Hump Day, today's topic is show, don't tell. Show, don't tell. So, as I was growing up, the best books that I read were the ones that helped me to put a picture in my mind, the ones that helped me to create my own movie, right? So that was back when a lot of books weren't necessarily being turned into movies. Now, almost all the good books get turned into movies. It's like a given almost. But even now, when you read the book first, avid readers always say, oh, the book was better. The book was better. I would give you a particular series that I read, Twilight. I read all of Twilight before the movies came out, and when I tell you I really enjoyed the movies because the movies kind of really parallel the book until you got to Breaking Dawn 2, but even the way they changed it, my mouth was just open in the theater. But I already had in my mind what certain people would look like. Based on the descriptions, I had in my mind how their personalities would be, even sometimes what kind of clothing they would wear. I had in my mind what the scenery would look like. In Twilight, they talked about the scenery of where they were a lot also. This is what you want to infuse in your book. These are the things that make people want to continue to read your book and will enjoy your book. Because even though you're teaching, even though you're sharing, even though there may be struggle, there has to be some form of entertainment. You cannot just drag people down the entire book. There has to be some ebb and flow. Okay? And when you leave them at the end of the book, there needs to be a high. You don't leave them on a low, you always leave them in a high. But as you're describing your journey, that's what you have to do. You have to describe. Don't tell me that you were frustrated. Okay, don't just tell me you were frustrated. Describe that so I can picture it. Tell me that your fist was clenched. Your jaw was tight. Give me some description of what you being frustrated looks like, what it felt like. My heart dropped. So you have to give those kinds of descriptions. My mouth pursed. You know what I'm saying? Those types of things are descriptions of some things that happen when people are frustrated. So when you describe that frustration, what happens is the reader is right there with you. They're right there with you, and they're going through it with you, and they feel it, and they relate, and they feel like this book was just for them. Okay, so you have to describe. So not only do you not just say, "Oh, I'm frustrated," or "She was mad," or whatever, you describe in detail what that looked like, what that felt like. So a thesaurus is a great reference. A thesaurus is a great reference, so that you're not using the same words over and over again. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to say frustrated every time. You don't want to say angry every time. You want to change it up. Use some synonyms. I, as an editor, especially in one paragraph, if you keep using the same word, I'm going to take those words out and change them out so that you're not boring the reader. Okay? So you want to describe it using words that tell the story of the feeling. So learn your emotions. Learn how to describe emotions with other words. Okay, so that's one way. Don't just say that you're frustrated or angry. Describe what that experience is like. Describe the emotion behind it. Okay. Also try to use certain descriptive words that bring about or elicit a physical reaction. Right. Things like heart dropped or gut wrenching. Phrases like that. In themselves, they elicit certain feelings and emotions and physical reactions. And so find words like that to describe. Okay. Another thing that you want to do is use dialogue. Instead of an entire paragraph of what he said, she said, we need to use dialogue. Dialogue helps the eye of the reader, because dialogue should be inset from the entire book, right? But dialogue should be inset. So it helps the reader's eye. It also helps the reader to basically conjure up two people talking rather than reading a long, boring description. Okay, so dialogue is important. So if when you're telling your story, certain conversations were very pivotal, very important, then you need to show that as dialogue within your book. Now, when we're using dialogue, that means that we need to be doing something other than she said, he said, she asked, he stated. I'm going to need you to find some more words. I'm going to need you to add some into that description of the dialogue. Okay, so, I don't need an entire sentence, but maybe she confused, let me see, what's a good description? Because I use, because I love to stray away from the stated, the said, the asked. She confusingly said, you know what I'm saying? And then comma, quote, what she said, close it out, quote. Okay? She confusingly said. So that already lets you know that when she said something, she wasn't quite sure when she was saying it, right? So add some umph to your dialogue. So you need to use dialogue, but then you need to add some umph to your dialogue. Okay? Let's see, what's some other ways that you can show, don't tell? Be descriptive of places. Be descriptive of people, their clothing, their facial expressions, their body language. I use my hands a lot. Their body language. When you're talking about the area that someone is in, you could talk about the temperature. You know what I'm saying? You can talk about the landscape, the textures around. If you're talking about food and it's important, you need to really describe the food and how it tasted, how it looked, or whatever. So these are just examples of things that you need to be describing. Now let's talk about when you describe too much. Okay? Readers these days are avid movie watchers as well as avid readers. And so what you don't want to do is put too much description in the wrong place. Too much description in the wrong place. Let me give you some examples. If you are speaking of a major city, no need to put the state. Okay? So you don't have to say Atlanta, Georgia. You can say Atlanta. When you say Atlanta, most people think Georgia. Now, if you're talking about Atlanta, Colorado that no one knows about, then yes, you need to put Atlanta, Colorado, and maybe tell people a little more about where that is in location to somewhere else in Colorado that people may know. Okay? Too much description is distracting. You don't want to distract. You want to get the mind moving, but you don't want to distract the reader, because that'll make them put the book down, or if they have to feel like they have to go back to kind of feel like they got what you're saying, that's distracting, is confusing, and avid readers don't like that. Okay? Because you don't want to distract them from your purpose, which is to teach, to share, to help. Okay. Let's see, what's something else? Oh, if you're describing in detail what someone has on, and that someone is not a major character in the story, and what they have on is not really important to us, when you get to describing all that, when you read that and we get some paragraphs down and realize that information wasn't important, it's a little upsetting to avid readers. They feel like, if you're going into detail about something, it's important. So you don't go into detail about things that are not important, right? So that's kind of the rule. If it's important, go into detail. If it's not, then don't go into detail. Because you can't just have a book full of detail about everything. If you did that, nothing stands out. So you only want to stand out the important things, okay? Some stuff is just background. Some stuff you will just tell and not show, because they're not that important. They just help you get from one part to the next, and that's okay. But so when do you use detail? When do you show and not tell? When things are important. Do not distract your readers with detail on things that are not important. There is nothing more frustrating for readers than to get into a story and you have described everything that person ate, but that meal was not important to anything about that storyline. Okay, so just be careful with how much detail, and know that the rule that you need to use is use detail in things that matter. Okay, use detail in things that matter. If in my story I'm telling about how I met someone, then I want to take my time and describe that person. I want to take my time and let you know what that person's personality is about. However, if when I meet them and we have a first date and a waiter comes, I don't want to take my time describing the waiter. Okay, the waiter is not as important as the person that's actually a part of an interaction in my life that is important. The waiter is not. Sometimes you may use small detail with minor characters. For example, when the waiter leaned over, his pen fell into my soup. Okay, that little detail may be because you're going to highlight that the person that you with has an anger management problem, so they went all the way off because that happened, right? That's what makes that little bit of detail important. Otherwise, no need to mention that. So I hope I'm giving you a real, rule of thumb on when to use detail, when not to use detail, how to use detail. Okay? Good morning. Good morning. So this training to me should be very much a clarification on adding oomph to your book and adding way more descriptive opportunities than you would if you were just straight out giving the bare minimum of what happened. Okay, we don't want the bare minimum of what happened. We want to live through it with you. We want to know, does your story intersect with ours, or what the differences were, or what the similarities are. So we need this detail. Tell your naked story. That means be transparent and share those details. Okay, so that's today's training. Show, don't tell. If you just joining me, good morning, and you can watch the replay and go back. Also use the hashtag your naked story to get all of the trainings. We only have one more. That's join me again on Friday morning to make up for the one we missed on Monday, and then we'll close out on next Monday. All right, but I will already tell you I have something brewing for you guys. While I was in Cancun, my next book kind of came to me, and it's been working in my head, and I kind of wrote some notes or whatever, and so I'm just getting started. But I thought, how cool would it be if I allowed you guys to write a book while I'm writing a book? Okay, what if I share my journey of writing a book? What if I show you how I put all of these teachings into play, how I implement them as I write a book while you're writing a book? Okay, I don't think it can get any better than that. I'm going to write my book, and I'm going to invite, I'm thinking 10 people to write their book while I'm writing my book. So I will teach you what I do step by step. So I've already written my notes. I already kind of have my subject matter, but I've not done my outline yet. So I'll share that process with you. I'll share my writing time stuff with you. I'll share how I come out of blocks, or how I come through obstacles, and how I make my way through. You'll be right there with me, and you'll also have some accountability to get your book done, because once I start writing, I write, and I'm going to complete my book. So if you follow me, if you follow the directions I give, you will have a book at the end of this journey also. So I brainstormed that. I think it was yesterday, and so I don't have all the details, but be looking out for those details because they're coming very soon. And I don't even have a name for the campaign. I don't know what it will be. Right with Shay, I don't know. But basically, what I'm going to give about 10 special people the opportunity. People who want to tell their story, because I'll be telling another one of my stories that happened to me that can help someone else, right? So those of you who want to tell your story, this is a huge opportunity to go through that writing journey with me. Okay, so what's going to happen is questions that you didn't even know you may have will be answered on the way because I'm doing it right there with you. So when I finish my book, you should finish your book, and that's not going to take us that long. I'm thinking it's going to take us I'm going to give the month of March time for registration. And the month of April, we're going to get to it. Okay, we're going to get to it and we're going to write. So if you would like to join me and write your book while I'm writing my book, and I don't mean just in the same period of time. I mean, we're interacting. We're talking about obstacles. We're talking about what to do next. We're talking about, when I say write an outline, I'm telling you how I came to my outline. Okay. So this is a huge opportunity. So watch out for when I name the opportunity and when I give you a chance to actually join me, because that is huge. I've not done that before. I've taught people how to write. I've coached people on writing, but I've never allowed people to write while I'm writing. And so I feel like that's even more inside stuff. That's even more help. That's even more of an insight. And so I'm kind of excited about it. And so I'm surprised that I was so excited yesterday. I almost got on and did a live to tell you guys about it, but I said, well, I'll be speaking to you guys today, so I will tell you today. So I hope you enjoyed today's training. It was kind of an important one. Show, don't tell. Okay, so it's about how to be descriptive and share detail and help the reader become a part of your experience and relate to your experience. And I've also announced that you can write with me coming up starting in April. I think I might start the last week of March, but the real guts of it will be in April. So you can write while I'm writing, and we're going to go through the process together. So to me, that's a huge opportunity, and I'm going to tell you more about that later on. So look out for that information. Now, this month's training was about love through sharing your story. Hit that hashtag, Your Naked Story. You can see all of the trainings thus far. If you need some information about generally writing and how to get started, I have another set of training for you that was done back in December. So hit that hashtag before you write. Okay, so before you write is its own group of training, and the training we're doing this month is hashtag Your Naked Story. Okay, so follow those trainings. Also, you may want to join my Facebook group, Canon Content Cafe. There are a lot of tools and things in there. In fact, you might want to join today and go ahead and get those free downloads in there today, because I'm probably going to take them out. Because some of those downloads will become a part of my program when you write with me. And so, of course, that will then not be free. So you guys go ahead and join and download those ebooks that are in there. Download those worksheets, guides, plans, lists. It's a whole bunch of stuff, and they're just waiting for you. I don't really believe in the email lists. I try to give my value where my people are. And since most of you are on Facebook, you can go on Facebook and get the value. You can get those opt-ins and those worksheets and things. Okay, guys? Well, it's the middle of the week. Have an awesome rest of the week. And I'll end this as I always end our trainings, which is keep learning and keep living, because life is content. All right, guys, have a great Wednesday.